Hello once again, Monster Hobbies Model Car Garage Mechanics. Welcome back to another Saturday group build. Okay, let's see, trying to get away from that window. My name is Trevor Slescu, owner of Monster Hobbies. We're now online at www.monster-hobbies.ca, and our phone number is 403-652-5019. We have a Canadian-based website priced in Canadian dollars, free shipping on Canadian orders over $75. We accept PayPal and credit cards on our Secure Pay service. And if you use the Secure Pay service, that means that any information you give me, is completely eliminated at the end of the transaction. If you use the promo code YouTube at the checkout, you can save on your next bunch of purchases. And we have a free newsletter on the side. So, how is everyone today? I'm a little bit upset because my website is goofing up on me, and it makes me frustrated. So what happened is I've got all these collector cards from Gremlins and some of these other old movies, stuff from the 90s. And so when I'm on my back pages of the website, of course, if I want to put this in, I have to create a category saying monster movie cards, and then the subcategory would be Gremlins, and then another one would be what's this, Beetlejuice, and then another one and whatever. So you got one category, and let's say it's numbered number 1. Then the second category underneath would be logically number 2, but hooked up to number 1. So what I did was, by mistake, not even thinking about it, just a nice little 2-second problem, I put the Gremlins as looping back onto Gremlins as the thing, and the computer went, heart attack, I cannot compute, and then it started to really make it so that no one can access my website. I can't go and fix it. I have to phone or get in contact with my friend, because it's really his website, and then get that corrected through him, and it's a Saturday, and it's his day off, and just headache piled on top of headache, just for 3 seconds of goofing something up. So he suggested I take over the website, and of course, that means I've got to get it all transferred and money involved and everything else that I don't have. So it's frustrating. Anyway, I didn't come here to frustrate everybody. I came here to work on the Packard Phaeton Speedster. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So anyway, so the weather's starting to warm up out here in Alberta. In fact, we're getting almost springtime, summer type days, and no snow or anything. Everything's melting. We're getting like +8, +10 Celsius. So perhaps I can get back to painting the Ford van while I'm waiting for this computer nonsense to fix itself. But anyway, yeah, so last night I was looking at some YouTube videos, and there was one about opening door panels and things like that. So I've got this is out of a junk box. I do believe it used to be a Johan 64 Plymouth Fury, but this thing is, somebody was doing something to it. And there's a lot of wrecked bits to it. So, and as you notice, there's no back of the car. Well, there is. So here it is so far. So this back of the car actually had the trunk molded in place, the trunk lid. So I'm trying to actually up my building game. So I was looking at one of the YouTube channels, and somebody had this idea. Now this got bent quite a bit, but they suggested taking a sewing needle and putting it into your drill press to use as a scribing tool to go in between the little grooves of your trunk lid to open them up. I didn't have a sewing pin, so I just used a regular pin, and it couldn't take the pressure, so it bent all over the place. But I did actually get that, as you can see, that trunk lid open. dropping stuff on the floor. And as you can see, I mean, this trunk lid is quite thick, and so is up under the hood here. That's like almost a, well, not a quarter inch, but pretty thick. So I was scraping this thing away, wondering why it wasn't coming through on the other end, because usually after a bunch of scrapes, you can see like the plastic, where it's cut and stretched and everything. Nothing. This Johannes kit is so thick from back in the 60s. It's even got, I don't know if you can see that by the post, there's a lot of wrinkles in there too. That's even more plastic. This is almost reminds me of a resin slush cast mold where they would take the mold and just take the resin and paint it on. It didn't matter how thick it was. They just kept adding and adding and adding. It's almost like how this thing is. Really makes it difficult. Anyway, but I think it turned out fine. And I also noticed, I do believe these trunks have a big molding piece that goes up in here. And the trunk actually forms up to that mold piece. But whoever had this before really sanded it right off, right to nothing. So I don't know, but it was practice. And what I think I might try to do is do the clothes peg or the paperclip hinges underneath here somehow, just as practice. If you got junk pieces, it's always best just to, and I mean, they're kind of unfixable pieces as well. It's always nice to experiment with these things and see if you can't do something on something that doesn't matter. Like this is never going to go into a World of Wheels model show or something and get top gold, because I mean, it's just a junk piece. So, and then the other part is like cutting off those tubes off the trunk lid, sanding them out, because that's where this would have screwed together on the original Johann kit. But at any rate, there it is. A little experimentation with a new tool. The only downside is I was scraping like this with my finger on the little pin. I did that on both, and now I've got like residual pain in here, like when you play a guitar and you're going on the strings and the strings cut into your fingers. That's sort of what I got going on with that little scraping tool. So anyway, for today, we're going to be looking at that Packard Phaeton Speedster. Yeah. All right, so where did I get to with this thing? Still got to sand the outside of this just to get that paint to have a little bit of a bite. I don't know. That whole frustration with the website just makes me want to throw my hands up and go apply at McDonald's and say the hell with all this hobby shop online nonsense. But then, yeah, don't follow the dream. Just suck into the reality of the nightmare of working for somebody every single day and all the rest. But I don't know. It's just frustrating. Everything went really well in December, and then January just went nowhere. But apparently everybody's telling me it's hard all over right now. Post-Christmas, credit card payment time, fun stuff. I don't know. Crazy. Okay. Well, there's the two-piece differential, so maybe I can clip that out and glue that together. What's everyone working on today? Any major projects? Finishing anything off? Or you just tuned in to watch? Let me know over here. There's nothing going on in the chat box right now. Is this thing operational? The battle station's operational? Maybe it's nice and sunny where everyone is, so maybe, just maybe, everyone's outside in the sun. That's what I should be doing. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so got a 2-piece big differential. Anybody know if this Packard differential had a name? Like, you know how Chryslers have the Dana rear axle and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if Packard actually had a name for their differential. There's a big creaky chair again. Okay, hold on. If I'm going to use liquid glue, let's move some of this out of the way. All right. Need to get back in the swing of this. Think of some funny stories or something. I don't know. Here we go. So these little part separation marks that are on these model kit parts, usually I will leave them on there when the part is gluing together. Let's see here. I will just try to use a bit of sandpaper to back them out of the way, just a little bit. And of course, this nice flat block will make this differential completely level. So the reason why I keep those little parts on there, or the little cutoff points of the sprue, is so that when I glue this thing together, okay, let me put it this way. If I took my knife and scraped this off, the little parts bits, I can create a divot in there. So I learned this when I was a kid, of course. Now the problem with the divot in there is you need to fill it with something. But if you can just leave those little nubs on there, and then after it gets glued together, you can clean the whole thing off. Then you're making this level, so you won't accidentally dig in and make a dip or something. The other thing is scraping the seam line on the edge here, like here. You don't want to do that because you're rounding it in, so you'll have a little valley right there. So to avoid all that complication, just back it away so that it's not interfering with the parts fit. Okay, let's be careful here. But you know, enough so that you can clean it up afterwards. A little bit of a fine balance in there. Do you have any modeling tips for this? Let me know over in the chat box here. Okay. And then I've got my 2 little clips. Hey, there's JC. Welcome aboard. I was hoping someone would start talking in the chats. Ah, man. Okay, working on the Packard rear axle. What are you guys working on? That was pretty easy. So this Packard has a little bit of a trick to it. Just like this chair. So what happens with this is that the frame is sort of built in all these weird subcomponents. And the springs are molded in place on the frame. That means that that differential has to go in at an angle, and then you roll it over to make it line up where it should. And then there's little braces that go in between, and the motor itself has little braces on it, which have to all be aligned. So you're kind of building this frame around the engine instead of like some of the AMT kits or whatever, where you build the engine and then drop it into the frame. This is the reverse of that. So there we go. See, like that. So now when you got the axle, I'll just clip out the front axle here. I'll put them over here. Yeah, so you clip out the front axle. And then you're going to put it through the chassis like this. And then you're going to rotate it in position. So that's how this model kit goes. Let's see. Oh, of course, that's not going to line up for my demonstration. There. So that's how that would be. So a little bit different from, having these springs loose on the frame or gluing onto the frame, where I could put this together over on the bench. This is all one continuous thing in here, more or less. You know what I mean? So yeah, like I was saying, I was practicing a new technique. This is on an old scrap piece of model car. And that was, of course, opening up the trunk lid, which I have done. Haha. This is an old Johan 64 Plymouth. So I just want to share with you guys the technique for those that have tuned in. So I saw this online. Somebody took a sewing needle. Now, I don't have a sewing needle. I thought I did, but I guess my kids ran off with them or whatever. But at any rate, I used a regular pin, and it did kind of bend up from the pressure of trying to scrape these out. So all I did was, like here on this door, I just took the tool and I followed along the door line. Only that was a trunk line. And I just kept going and going until it cut through. So that was using the pin, but I was holding it like this, and to get a little more pressure in on the pin head. And I gave myself guitar string fingers. You get the groove in there from playing the guitar. So, but it ended up working really nicely. The plastic was really thick on these old Johans, almost like a slush molding where they just pour it all in, So some parts were really thin and then other parts were really thick. And usually when you scrape these things, you can see your line coming through, just before it's about to break on the side. It took forever to get through there. But it ended up working out okay. And then the other thing to do, this is just a practice piece, of course, would be use some of these loops from the paper clip and cut and bend and make little hinges that go in on that shelf back here. And cut off these big long tubes where the model is screwed together, of course. But anyway. So yeah, that was part of that. Lots of fun. Trying to see if I can improve my model building skills as I go on. And it's always good to practice with junk, because if you make a mistake, no one's ever going to see it except yourself. And you learn from your mistakes as you go along, of course. So speaking of which, and I also found where some of my hobby tools were hiding, because when we moved out of the store, I was working on some foam core buildings for war games, little old cottages and shacks and things, medieval style. and I had half of my tools sitting in another box. So I finally found that box, went through it, and now I was able to reunite my tools. Okay, so I'm just removing the seam line out of this front axle here from the Packard. Now I'm not sure if I'm going to use any of those open the door techniques on the Packard here, because I don't know. Just seems a little bit harsh. I was looking at the hinges as well. That's something I want to try. And Peter gave me a good idea. That was just to take an aluminum can and cut it into strips, the thickness of the hinge, or sorry, the height of the hinge, I guess. And then you take a metal pin and you bend the aluminum around the pin instead of trying to make something and drill a hole through it or whatever. And then I can make those kind of vintage hinges. But what I noticed with the Packard is the Packard has modern style hinges on it. That's why these door lines are smooth and there's nothing sticking out like on a Model A or whatever. It's because the hinge is actually, like, see the thickness of the door. The hinge is actually inside of that. It's a very small one. Same type of hinge, the kind that, like the garden gate hinge, goes like this with the rod in between. So when you open your doors or close your doors, it's like this. When you open them, it goes out, So that's actually in the door jamb, just like a modern car now. That's back in 1930. So the question is, do I cut this thing open and try to do that? The answer is no. No, I don't know. But I do have a down in where this was hiding. I've got a box and it's got one of the Monogram 34 Duesenbergs in there. And now hopefully I can do this with this, because this Duesenberg is a complete glue bomb. And it's one of those glue bombs where, people say, oh, just put it in the fridge or whatever. And yeah, you could freeze that thing all you like, and it won't get the glue off. It's like bare plastic to bare plastic with about 13 tons of Tester's red glue on there. Somebody did say to try soaking it in kerosene. I don't know. Too much gasoline and flammable substances to deal with just to get a bit of old glue off to try to save something that's all full of glue burns. It doesn't make any sense. Especially on a kit that resurfaces every decade or two. But my point is, I could practice on that to get the door hinges open, or to get the doors open and hinged, and then I could try to do it on the Packard, I suppose. It all depends if I want to make this out of the box or opening doors. But well, but yeah, interesting things are in the works anyway. Soak in super clean, purple degracy. I don't know if I've got to see if we got that in Canada, or at least in my my local Canadian Tire, I guess. I've had glue come loose with that. Cool. I actually have this stuff, but I can't really sell it. It's sort of people want to buy it from me and I can't sell it. And the reason why. Okay, so what it is, pardon my chair, at Walmart. Okay, I'll have to see if it's up here. I have a parts box of those old kits. What are you looking for as far as parts for the Packard? Well, nothing really, because I have this complete. What I was thinking of doing is attempting to cut the doors open and hinge it. But then I've got a junked up Lynchburg that I might do that on first to practice before I actually attempt to chop this thing. Yeah. And I have a spare one of these Packards as well. So, and I've got the boat-tailed Speedster. Hey, Mr. Rotten Scurvy Dog is here. Napa also sells Super Clean. Napa. We've got one in town. Maybe I'll go check it out one of these days when I'm allowed out of the house. Oh, man. But yeah. Yeah, all these old cars of the 30s. So I was looking over the poll. Remember, I'm thinking of doing a group build. So if you go on the community tab, you'll see that we had quite a good amount of votes going on. So people are looking at what did I have on there? I had like NASCAR and sports cars, which nobody wanted to do sports cars. That was like, the Ferraris and the Corvettes and all that stuff. Like James Bond's Aston Martin, and nobody wants to do that. So what everybody seems to like is the hot rod, show rod, and custom cars. So I've got a second poll running there now because we have to sort of divide that out a little bit. And for a little while, I thought custom cars was going to win. And then today I looked at it and everybody says, build all three. So it split into custom cars, hot rods, and show rods. So custom cars would be like anything from 49 to 60. I suppose a 40 Ford could actually fit in there as well. But that's like, like maybe lowered with the fender skirts and all the rest of that stuff on there. Swap out the wheels, change the motor over, things like that. But then hot rods would be anything pre-1949. So like the 32 Fords and the Victorias and all the rest. Sorry, it's bugging my eye here. And then the show rods would be stuff like the crazy Ed Roth creations and the like Lincoln Futuras and all that sort of stuff. So JC says he voted for custom. So now everybody's like, let's build all three. So I don't know. I mean, I suppose we could. I got to figure out what I want to build for that. Got a 49 Ford, the AMT kit. I've got the two of the convertibles, because with that one they give you those two different noses on there. And I also have the 53 Ford pickup truck with from AMT, the original Trophy Series one from back in the 60s, although it's a Reeboks. They're always a Reeboks. Oh, there we go again. Time out for this guy. There we go. I voted for all. Prefer to choose which to build, for sure. Well, somebody's saying, I think it was Mike from the Custom Garage down there. He says, every other group build, the people running it just say, do one model. Here it is. I think the last one was the 1940 Ford, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But, well, I guess let's say on the one hand, it's great because you can take out your 1940 Ford kit again and build it or build one, because I've got a few of those too I'd love to build. But then that's good on the one hand, but then on the other hand, people have to go and buy the 40 Ford if they don't have one, or just not be in the group build. So with this, if we do all three, then, and anybody can enter anything, then that opens it up to everybody. It's just sort of a theme, like we're all going to do custom cars instead of, a stock, I don't know, 1970 Ford GT or Galaxy or something, So I guess that kind of is part of it. Anyway, I guess my Packard is out unless I'm going to put a big motor in it, which I don't think I'm going to do. I'm a purist. But no, that 50 Ford Custom. Of course, you can swap out parts from the 49 and everything else. And it's a good kit. It's been going together well since 1962 or something, 2 or 3. Got to look at the scale mates, figure out when these things were made. Anyway, there's that nice Packard axle sitting in there, cleaned up, no seam lines up the middle. Whoops, now I'm breaking it open because it's not glued together. Yeah, always fun. Everyone's a winner at Monster Hobbies, except when the website goes down. We all lose. No one can access that thing when it goes down. Oh, it drives me crazy. Just silly mistake, eh? I accidentally I made a category for my Gremlin trading cards on my website this morning. So I've got to make a main category. The main category is monster collector cards because I've got a couple other movies. Then my subcategory was Gremlins 2. And instead of tying the subcategory to the main category, I accidentally looped the subcategory to itself. So now the website goes, oh no, cardiac arrest, electronically cardiac arrest. So I can't get on there. You can't get on there. The only person that can get on there is the guy that gave me the website because he's got the access code to get there. And it's his day off. So I sent him an email. He got me fixed. I went on there. I found out what the problem was. I went to go open up the category to correct it, and then went into cardiac arrest again. So I sent him another email. So now I got to wait. And he's suggesting I buy my own website and take care of it, which is true, except I need the extra coinage to keep that going. So it's just, and I had the whole day planned out to work on that, then come here, do this, then go back and work on it. And then tonight, I've got because we used to play Warhammer in the store, I've got a customer that still wants to battle with me, right? Against my dwarfs, the dwarfs of Zufbar. No, anyway. So he wants to battle with the dwarfs. So, yeah, so tonight that's what we're going to be doing. So that'll be fun. Get a little bit of battling in. Okay, so what else is going on here? It's interesting. There's a color called Silver Fox. Have any of you come across that paint color in your lifetime? Because it's calling for it on this differential. Let's see. What else can I do? How about this back panel here? It's just sort of random. I'm not really following any instructions on this. Okay. Now let's see. This is also a piece that I find interesting to this model kit. So you've got a bit of the back of the car plus the top of the fuel tank on here. And that is supposed to, okay, when you move the body out of the way, let's bring this up. So there's the open hole for it at the back. And then if you look at the bottom of the car, there's these 3 pins, and those 3 pins go into this hole. So that's like that. And there it is. And then this will drop. Well, actually, just get into that in a second here. That's interesting. Okay, so there it is there. And it's got an overhang. Almost like a little thing to lift up. But the way they describe it in the instruction is you're supposed to glue the body down here. Then you're supposed to take this thing and try to massage it up in onto the 3 little buttons to get it to line under there. So I don't know. Almost seems better just to glue it to the underneath of the body. I guess we'll find that out when we get into that build phase on this thing. There we go. I'm thinking of making one of those ASMR videos and build the other Packard to the ASMR kind of theory. So that means I don't say anything. I grab the model and you can hear me scraping the seam lines. And then you hear me sandpapering it, and then I paint it, and then it gets to the next phase and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Can you guys stand to not listen to me for a 45-minute video? I know I've just got this golden voice of radio. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Anyway. Oh, well, one thing I am working on that might help me with paying for that, the website, because right now my friend is covering the monthly fee. So I think he's tired of helping me correct these little stupid problems, come up with a thing. But the good part is I've got a second point of sale system that, when you're in business, you've got one of these Interact machines, and every other company and their dog are phoning you constantly saying, our system offers better rates. Why don't you switch and hook with us and all the rest of this stuff? So I switched to a better company that uses the same bank as the original company. So I thought I was getting a better deal. So I didn't cancel the original machine. I kept it going because, again, you got to phone this guy, you got to phone that guy, you got to they send out a ticket, you've got to fill the ticket, you've got to tell them and cancel it and the reasons why. And they of course, when you tell one of these companies you need to cancel their machine, they start saying, well, we can offer you better rates and we can do this and the other thing and we can correct the other thing out. And are you sure, really sure you want to cancel us? And yes, I'm sure. Anyway, so I did not cancel the one I'm using now, but I ended up hooking up with this other one. Boy, I put this guy in a timeout and here he is back again. So anyway, with the move and everything, I couldn't really try to cancel the other machine. And of course, they're service charging you every month for this thing, the rental of the machine. So just recently, they phoned me to see if I would want more deals, and I told them I got to cancel. Told them I'm shutting my store down forever, but that's just between you and me. Anyway, so to make a long story short, I'm in the process of getting rid of that extra machine. So then that way I should have some money to cover the website expense. Hopefully. But it's all still in works, of course. This department's going to phone that department. It's going to phone that department. It's going to have that department phone me back to cancel the machine. Well, guess who hasn't phoned back yet? The last and final department. Always. Hopefully on Monday. They're supposed to phone Friday. The joys of all this behind the scenes stuff. I don't know how many of you know about. Why? Follow my dreams and become a fry cook at McDonald's is what I should. But then where would the fun be? You guys would never have the experience of monster hobbies. Okay, what else is going on with this thing? Little brackets, little things that get lost if I take them out now. I keep looking at this up convertible top. Maybe I should work on that. Put the front bench seat together as well. Okay, let's see now. So there's the front of the seat and the back. And the Packard also has chrome, a big chrome strip up along the top. So when we get to our bare metal foil, of course, we can fix that up. Let's see where the seat is fitting. Okay, there it is, just like that. So again, just got to clean this. So my Warhammer friend, he's suggesting we start playing the Path to Glory scenarios, because there's many ways to play Warhammer. And apparently the Path to Glory, if I remember this correctly, because we did try it before, sort of. So unlike normal Warhammer, where you just pull out all your models and you roll dice and come across the table and smash into each other, and your little figures have all these battles and everything like that. Path to Glory is sort of like your hero starts off as almost an unknown, let's say, and he forms a battle party of this little army, and then you're supposed to give them a name and give the units all these special names and stuff, and then you go from you'd fight a battle, and then the next week, you I think at the end of the battle or something, these guys get some glory points, path to glory, and then you can rank them up. You can give them extra weapons or something like that, better armor, whatever. So then the next time you come around to the battle, your little guy's gone from just a hero to now a general, or you know what I mean. They rank up. The army improves. I think if certain units do something really well, they also get points. So then they improve. So you kind of go from this little war band of just regular guys with arrows, let's say archers, to where they become like this renowned unit that has extra hero status and things like that. So they want to try to get a Path of Glory going tonight. So that should be kind of a different. Although both of those guys are tournament style Warhammer players, so they end up just smashing me to pieces. That's okay. When I had the store, that used to kind of bother me. But then they were coming in every Saturday and Thursday to play. So you kind of get this, I don't know, sort of a chip on your shoulder, or at least, where it's like, okay, these guys are coming every week. And I've got other people playing in the store as well. So you kind of want to, you want to prove to people in the store, hey, Gustav, or Gust, oh man. Anyway, you sort of want to like prove your worth when you're in the store. When you own the store, you should be, well, I don't want to say winning every game, because you don't really want to win every game, because then the customers don't want to come and play with you anymore. But, you should at least have some wins. And I've been playing with no wins at the store, but, at the store, again, it's sort of like your honor is tied into it, Whereas outside of the store, I don't feel like I need to have that great big honor anymore. I don't know if you guys understand that part. Anyway, now I just want to play it as if I'm watching a movie, and I'm the director of the movie. My guys are the actors, and if they get trounced, well, that was how the movie played out. Hey, Stephen, how's it going? Welcome to my show. It's I might be a little bit complainy today. My website's acting up. I made one little 2-second mistake on my website that's like completely locked everybody out from using it and accessing it. So it's like, man, and something dumb. I looped a category onto itself instead of looping it to the other category and that it should have been looped to. And now the online system is having a cardiac arrest trying to figure out, like, oh man, it's not even worth explaining. And my friend that can help me fix it it's his weekend off. So to say, hey, can you fix my thing? It's not the best. Yeah, his office is open Monday to Friday, and then he takes Saturday, Sunday off. And guess when all these things blow up? Saturday and Sunday. At least he checks his emails. That's a good thing. But yeah. Anyway. So there we go. Got the Packard front seat. I'm just going to glue the back end to this. Yeah, it really, if I can't access the site and you can't access the site, well, I guess if you're watching this in reruns, it might be okay then. But, for the time being, I can't even say go over to the website and check it out because, like, you put that in a thing and then, okay, glue together. You put that in a search engine and then the little thing will just go. And then 5 minutes later, it'll say, we're unable to connect with that site. Depending on that for my bread and butter, and now it's gooned. All because I tried to link one card to itself by mistake. And I can't even go in and change the address line because as soon as I click on it, it's trying to figure out that issue again. Like, there's our technology. Oh man. Yeah. So that went together pretty well. Just got to scrape the seam line down the middle once this glue dries. So what's everybody working on out there? There's 10 people tuned in. I can see you up here in my little playback. Anyway, 10 people, 3 thumbs up. That's always good. And we got people in the side here. So what's everyone working on? Let us know over here, right where my door is. Anybody need a exercise bench? Back in the day, I thought I'd be healthy and buy one of these things, and it used it about 4 times, and that was it. Anybody want one? Take these. There should be like, how you get a pop can or a jug of milk, and then you drink the jug of milk or whatever, and then you can take it to somewhere where they pay you like 10 cents or a quarter or whatever to recycle it. They should do that with sports equipment. There should be a big, warehouse where it's like, bring in all your, all you guys that thought you would be Charles Atlas, and you bought all this stuff and then you didn't use it like 2 months later. Bring it in. We'll give you, half of what you paid for it or something like that. And then we'll sell it to some other guy that thinks he can be Charles Atlas and it's out of your hair. Like, why can't there be, let's get some real smart recycling things going on in our lives here. How about like somewhere where, here's the other thing, like you got all these spare parts, right? Let's say, for example, wouldn't it be neat if like you could take all these left, not even the spare parts themselves, but just like the empty parts trees even, and then take them somewhere, like get a big bag like you do with the pop cans, take these somewhere, and then they melt it down and they make you a new model at the end, just out of your scrap plastic. Let's get that going, or they'll pay you for the scrap plastic and then they'll make a new model out of it, something like that. So you got a choice. You can either pay, or you can bring it in and they'll give you a free model because they'll just melt this down and put it through another mold. Just there you go, take it. Or you get paid for it instead and they can make a model for somebody else. JC saying, I only build when it's too cold to work outside. I can't get motivated to start this year. Still have a big stack to build, just can't get rolling. Yeah, motivation can be tough. I've got a bunch of projects on the go, but then I'm making the YouTube videos and these live streams in between too, and trying to load the website when it's going to behave. But anyway, it's, yeah, just to get motivated, like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and then scrape a couple of seam lines and you're done, right? Back it goes in the box for 30 years. Oh, man. And then you go on Facebook and everybody's showing all these fantastic things. Like, why can't I do that? I don't know. Some fun. Okay. Here's some white walls. Let's do some white walls. So I got a little bump on there, and I'll just file that off. That is the nice part with these Monogram kits. I think the Thunderbird is also like this, the 57 T-Bird, or 56, pardon me. 57 is the AMT kit. I'll use my number 11 hobby blade just to get rid of the seam line. But a lot of those Monogram kits, they actually had these white wall inserts, and you get a sunken area inside your tire. And all you do is clean up the seam lines, of course, and then plug it in the hole. And what makes this nice is if you want to, I mean, they say you should always paint your plastic parts. And it's true, because white plastic, well, white paint for that matter too, will turn yellow over time. Just hopefully not too yellow. But the white plastic turns yellow faster than the white paint does. The magic properties of paint. So you could take these white wall inserts and paint them separately somewhere. And the nice part is you plug it into the tire, so you're not actually painting white paint on the tire. You're just putting the insert inside. So there we go. So was it JC that was saying he was working on the Jimmy? Where did I see that? Oh, Steven is working on the Jimmy. Yeah, Top Jimmy. I did an unboxing of that, I think. Was it Jimmy? No, it was a Chevy Blazer, the sister kit to the Jimmy one. That's on my website. But it seems to me, you know, one thing I find kind of odd is that, I see there's that insert going in. There you go. One thing I find kind of odd is I posted the video, the most recent one, on the 78 Ford Firestone pickup truck. Okay, don't fall. Okay, so that's this one. Got it up here because I was doing the write-up on the YouTube. And just to get the conversation going, because this one is on loan from James. So that's James' model. Thank you again, James, if you're watching, which I think you are. Anyway, we'll just hold that thought. So the thing about that is, just as a conversation starter, because somebody said that was a bad kit to build. So as a conversation starter on Facebook, I wrote, do you think, or is this really the hardest kit to build, or is this really a really bad kit or something like that? So I got a good response out of that. People that have built it and said, the end result looks good, but you've got to do so many things to get it to there. And they're saying that the differential, because you can build it as a 4x4, so you got a differential in the front and the back, and says that where the axles are doesn't really line up with the wheel arches here in the bed and all this stuff. So people are doing all these things to extend it out and whatever they need to do. Well, I've got another model kit from 1978 that's apparently, or well, just as bad, and that's the MPC/AMT 1978 Firebird kit. And that one's got like parts that don't, they're too short somewhere in here and whatever else. So I just wonder if that wasn't an issue in 1978 for whatever reason, or, the 70s. The 70s model kits have all these really weird flaws to them where they're almost unbuildable. So I don't know, is that your experience, or is it just on certain kits it just didn't make the mark? Like, why would the Pontiac Firebird be so terrible? Or is it something that they did in the 70s to cut, cost cut? So really, I was looking up the history, and this thing came out in 74. So does that mean the 74 truck goes together better than the 78 because they were reusing the mold and then changing the front nose to make it, a 76 and a 77 and this sort of thing, and then adding in this feature here without really correcting the frame? Like, the frame is still meant for the 74 short bed pickup, and then they made an extended and kept the frame the same. Like, it makes you wonder what was going on back then. Yeah, see, even JC is saying his 78 Firebird looks funky. The suspension has trouble. So, I don't know. I just remember I started to build it and it got stuck in the box because it was like, I think it was a body panels or something. You had to dump in about 30 pounds of filler to make everything touch each other. So, yeah, I don't know. Luckily, I got two of those kits. One of them is my wife's, and she never built it, so I can actually unbox the thing and show you. I should show mine alongside it, just how bad it is. Yeah. So there's another one of these white wall inserts. Looks like a nice white donut. Give it to Danny the dog to chew on. Okay, so here's going into this tire. Ooh, can you feel the excitement? Now, hopefully I can get this out again. Actually. Yep. Just got to pry it. Yeah, usually I've got a wheel spinner, and I'll put the wheel into my drill and spin the wheel, and then you hold a piece of sandpaper to it, like I've got in that demo. And I should really do that on this. Yeah, what's JC saying? I think the engineers were a little hyped up in the 70s. Could be, or, that's getting to a different model kit. Just thinking about this. The Star Trek model kits from AMT. Now, when the Enterprise kit first came out, it was in an aluminum mold. Or the mold to make that kit was made out of aluminum originally. And what AMT was thinking at the time was, okay, here's a TV show, and it's got its audience. And what was it? Desilu Studios or whatever want us to make a model of the Enterprise for kids so that the kids can build a model of the USS Enterprise, right? And at the time, they figured the show would be over in a couple of years, and then kids will move on, and they want something else. So So they figured if it looked close enough, then it was okay. So the Enterprise, the original one, has a lot of inaccuracies if you're going to compare it to the actual one you saw on TV. But I mean, it filled its purpose, and AMT made the support pylons that go into the central hull. They made them. There was like a little thin plastic band and two notches, and then later they had like a little loop thing, and the pylons go in and they click into the loop, or they sit in on the two notches or something like that. And of course, the moment the ship fell over, it would snap inside, and everybody would be upset because their engines would fall off the thing. So then in '73, AMT made, because the show was now super popular and going into reruns and everything else, AMT couldn't use that aluminum mold anymore because it really wore out. And they retooled it into a steel mold, and they've been using that mold ever since. But the theory is that if it looked good enough, it was good enough. That's the thing I'm trying to say. So I wonder if that thinking was in some of those '70s kits. Well, we need this, and let's not be too exact. If it goes together, that's fine. If it doesn't, well, the kids will figure it out. Off to market, and so you get somebody like round two that buys this stuff up later. Well, they don't know what that thinking was in the '70s, and they just say, well, let's clean up the mold and put it back out there, and all of a sudden everybody's complaining how it doesn't fit together, because back in '78 they didn't care. They'd make this thing, and then, okay, well, it's a '78 Ford, so we're heading into 1982 coming up here, so let's focus on building models for 1982. Yeah, good enough. And in 1982, because that's going to get retired and nobody ever want to build that thing again. So in 1982 they're going to want something new. Let's give them what's that, the MPC Dodge Charger thing, or something like that. I think that's a little bit later. I think that's an '85, but you know what I'm saying. But the other thing I wonder is what happened to a lot of those kits, because I remember when I was a kid growing up in the '80s, every Christmas a kid would get a model kit. Sort of like every time you heard a bell ring, a kid would get a model kit. No, but anyway, wonderful life, right? No, but what I'm thinking is every kid got a model kit for Christmas. And then our school used to have this school garage sale, sort of in the spring and summer. So all of us would save up money, a couple of dollars here and there, and we'd go to this thing, and everybody would have their stuff out, and the kids would be selling these model kits they got for Christmas that they didn't want. And I remember like the Monogram 80, what was it, like 83 Firebird from Monogram, and like there was sort of this time period of these kits that you would always see everywhere. Didn't matter where you go. You go to McDonald's and there'd be one sitting there for whoever knew why, but it was there. Or you go to the movies and there'd be that model kit sitting there somehow. Like they were everywhere, right? Under manhole covers, everything, right? They'd just be everywhere. Well, where are they now? You can't find any of those things. I don't even remember what half of them were. 76 Camaro, 76 Firebird. What was the other things? 55 or 57 Chevys. They'd come in a box sort of like this one. Like that. But they wouldn't be the Snake or something cool. They'd just be like the standard fare cars that were there everywhere, all over the place in real life. Now you can't even find them in the model kit form. But I remember they were everywhere. Where are they? Just have like Kool-Aid Man burst through the door holding some of them. Oh yeah. I don't know. Okay. I'm going to glue this roof together too. See, they say building models is supposed to relax you, but am I relaxed? Am I? Ah, man. Okay. Now I get the spatula and scrape myself off the ceiling. I remember when I was a kid, the first Batman movie came out '89. I won't say the first Batman because you guys are going to say, well, there was one in the '60s, but come on, the '80s Batman movie came out. Michael Keaton. In fact, there was Batman movies in the '40s. So hey. Anyway, we got the soundtrack from Prince. Not directly given to us by Prince, of course. That would have been cool, just like the artist known as Prince at the time just comes to your door with a bunch of tape cassettes and albums from the Batman movie and be like, hey, I think you should listen to this. It's my latest album. Wouldn't that be awesome? No, but seriously, okay, so we got I still got them on tape cassette, of course, because that was sort of the thing in the '80s, because we could have a Walkman, walk around, listen to your stuff on a Walkman. So I have this, I don't know if I still got one of these tape recorder things, another Christmas present. My sister and I both got one. So when my old friend was over, we used to sit in the basement and build models. We listened to that Prince with the Bat Dance song over and over and over. Bat Dance. Get the... Yeah. Oh, man. Anybody ever listen to anything 60 times in a row while you're building a model? Actually, that's another category. So when you're building models, do you actually like get out the music from the time period of the model? I try to do that just so I'm in the mood of kind of at least getting an understanding or relating to the time period, or maybe I got quite a few of the old what do you call them? Oh, Kino Lorber movies. And it's really nice because now I'm starting to see that because we still actually go out and shop, believe it or not. It's not all online for me. But every now and again, we'll go up to the mall. And we don't have a cable TV or anything like that because I can't really justify it. I can't justify Netflix or any of that stuff. Because when I grew up, we had Super Channel. And to me, Netflix is just a modern version of Super Channel. You know what I mean? They have all these movies except the ones you want to watch. You're paying for this thing. And they'll have like one or two new movies that come out that you can watch. And then all of a sudden, those movies just disappear somewhere. And you're left with the recycled stuff nobody really wants to watch, but it's there. Super Channel did the same thing, Coming soon to Super Channel. Stay up at what was it? Stay up at New Year's for the special movie that's going to come out on Super Channel. So we'd all, stay up on New Year's Eve and watch Super Channel, and it would be a good new movie. And then all through January, February, March, April, May, June, all the way into August, that same movie was coming up every single night. It's just like, oh, come on, stop torturing us. We want to see the new movie. Well, you don't. Or I want to see this movie. Well, that movie comes on at 3 a.m. And Netflix, maybe not tied to it quite like that, but still, if it ain't there, it's not there. And if it's on Amazon Prime, then you got to pay for it. But it could also be on, whatever. It's crazy. So instead of doing that, my wife and I we buy DVDs. Still, we're probably the last people on earth doing this. the last DVD on earth. But then the thing is, I'm buying the movie that I want to buy, and then I can watch it anytime, even at 3 a.m. And well, it takes up some space, probably not the best use of my money, but yeah, still. So anyway, these Kino Lorber films, you used to have to send away for them. You can buy them on their website too. But now the store that we go to get records and stuff, it's actually called Sunrise Records. Sunrise Records is carrying Kino Lorber and a bunch of these other companies that I haven't heard of. So you know what that means. That means that I can go up and buy Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which you'll never find on Netflix. And I've got, I like the silent movies as well, just for the way that a lot of that stuff was set up back in the day. You got no CG. You've got, no computer graphics, no nothing. It's all like a natural thing. So you get early stop motion, this sort of thing. And then just the cinematics on some of it is really good as well. And then you get a lot of the pioneering type stuff. But I've got movies like Battleship Potemkin, which is based off of the kind of it's a real story based off of the Russian battleship, sort of in the Tsarist period, I think, just before the Russian Revolution. I don't know, so it's something like that, but it's based off of, where the story goes that on the battleship, the Tsar didn't want to give anybody food, for the battleship. So there was a lot of rotten meat and this sort of thing, and the sailors had to eat it. And the doctor was saying, "Oh, it's fine, just put more vinegar on it and kill all the parasites in the meat." It's kind of a gross scene. They actually show this big piece of meat with all these worms floating in it. It's like, thanks, guys. But anyway, so the Russian naval guys, yeah, and there's a bunch of other stuff that goes on with that too. It's not just the bad meat. They stage a protest, so then they all get captured, and then on deck, they're going to get executed for fighting over this rotting meat with the doctor. And of course, then that sparks a big revolution. The shipmates don't want to see their shipmates get shot over this crappy meat they've got to eat. So of course they go and totally take over the ship, and they throw the doctor and all the Tsar high officials off the boat and everything, and take off in the Battleship Potemkin. And then they end up floating around. They sort of got this like, are you for us or are you against us sort of thing going on. And they go up onto the steeps, and there's a big public protest. And of course the Tsar gets all his army to run in and mow down civilians and all this stuff. Now this movie came out in like, what was it? The 1920s. So it's, again, still got a bunch of the propaganda stuff in it as well. But, so the Russians, the Tsar police guys get into the conflict with the battleship. So I think the battleship ends up firing onto the Russian Tsarist police guys that are solving this riot by shooting everybody, sort of thing. So anyway, so at the end, there's this big face-off between the entire Russian army, the Russian Navy actually, and against the Battleship Potemkin. So it's getting down to the crunch, and it's sort of that. Will the other comrades join the battle to fight against the Tsar, or will they blow up the Battleship Potemkin? So, I mean, I don't want to spoil the movie that's over 100 years old. So anyway, if you ever want to see that, maybe just go for it. But I've got stuff like Metropolis and I tried to get some of the old Laurel and Hardy silent films. It's kind of interesting. Laurel and Hardy. They Laurel and Hardy started in the silent film era as comedians, and they didn't make their movies together. It wasn't until almost the end of the silent era, um, and kind of by circumstance. So it's Hal Roach, I think. Hal Roach was the guy. Okay, I'm testing my Packard roof there. So Hal Roach was making this comedy called That Lucky Dog, and it was starring Stan Laurel. So they needed this heavy in there that was supposed to be sort of like the bad guy, and they were, of course, looking to cast people and whatever. And Oliver Hardy came in, and they cast him. And this was just sort of just not even like a second thought sort of thing. They were just making this comedy movie, and Laurel and Hardy seemed to work together really well. So then Hal Roach decided to make them into this comedy team that we know now and paired them up that way. So they made maybe about a dozen silent films, and then that was something like from 1925 to 1927 or whenever, and then they instantly switched into talkies. So there's not too many silent movies of them working together, but there is a lot of them working separately. So I got a bunch of those on DVD from Kino Lorber, and they're still pretty funny even to today. Okay, I'm having trouble with this roof sitting together. I think there's a bit of a warp in here. Oh, now I'm getting the fingerprint right on the... It's not my day. Not my day today. Okay. Well, whoever was offering Packard parts, I might need a roof. No, it should be okay. This would be nice to actually know in advance. So I had this little warp problem. I could have glued one half of it together and then come back and glue the other part so I could bend it in with the one bit being stable. All right. Is anybody saying anything over there? Nope. Well, in case you're wondering, my name is Trevor Sliscu, owner of Monster Hobbies. We're now online, so this address means nothing. We're at www.monster-hobbies.ca. Phone number is 403-652-5019. Our website's priced in Canadian dollars, and we offer free shipping on Canadian orders over $75. We also ship around the world. We accept PayPal and credit cards on our secure pay system. So that means that if you use your credit card information, then it's automatically eliminated after the transaction goes through. I always give a tracking number. We use Canada Post. I can ship anywhere in the world. And if you use a promo code YouTube at the checkout, you can save 10% off your next purchase. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter on the side. And hello, Mike from Texas at Mike's Model Shop. Just kind of mentioning you earlier, and I can't remember what I said. Isn't that great? Yeah, but even though I just gave out my website thing, does have a temperamental problem sometimes, and I think it's currently out of service right now, which is not helpful to anyone. All because I made a 3-second error on there and didn't catch it. So basically on the website, for everything that I upload on there, I've got to make a category box and link the products into the category. But I have a main category for what the page is, and then I've got subcategories, which are what the little pages are. So yesterday, I made a new category for these old style trading cards, and it's a monster movie trading cards. So I sat there last night and I scanned in all the pictures of the Gremlins from Gremlins 2, and I was going to put them on there today. So today I made a category called Monster Collector Cards. That went fine. Then I made a subcategory called Gremlins 2, the new batch, and I accidentally linked it to itself, not to the previous category, and that gave my website cardiac arrest and on a digital scale. So my friend that can help me with that, it's his day off. He closes his offices Saturday, Sunday. So I emailed him. So on his day off, of course, he corrected the problem. Then when I realized what I did, I went back on that entry and tried to open it up to fix the problem, and it went back into cardiac arrest. So I sent him another email, and of course, he's not happy that I'm bugging him. I don't know. He suggests I should take care of my own website and get this thing from him. But the problem is that's more expense, and I've had a crappy January, so none of this is really fun for me today. Anyway, so I thought I'd try to relax with everybody and work on this Packard. And now I got a little warp between the connection of the roof and I surrender, universe. I surrender to the universe. Anyway. So I'll probably be resolved in by the end of the day, I hope. But still. So I got a lot of Packard bits worked on. I got these white inserts put in. Got the bench seat glued together. And scraped down this part. I don't know. What else can I say? I know what else I can say. I can go back to this. So for those of you tuning in, an hour and 23 minutes in. So I was looking around on YouTube, and I think it was A4 Studios. I can't quite remember. But they they were showing, somebody anyway, was saying to take a sewing needle and put it in your drill press, and then you can use that to drag along the door lines, the panel lines, until you cut them open with this little tool. So of course, wherever the sewing needles went to, my kids don't know, my wife doesn't know, and I don't know. So I just grabbed a straight pin that I found and clipped it off. This was, like I say, a straight pin, but then I was I started to scrape it, and then the pin bent a little. So then I used this, like this, and it gave me guitar finger, like with the string. But at any rate, after a while, I was able to cut the trunk lid out of the back portion of this scrap kit that I have. And it did a pretty nice job, actually. If you look at the clearances in there, I know this doesn't look quite right, but the gap is pretty nice in there. And then what I'm thinking of doing is using paper clip wherever it went. Paper clip, where'd you go? Well, anyway, using that paper clip as the hinge with the loop. So hopefully that'll all work. I see Frizzo's Model Cars is here. Checking me out. Yeah. So, what else? I also got the rear axle together. Mike and I are gonna, well, we're talking about hooking up and building a thing together as a collaboration video, but I haven't got back to him with that email. Please forgive me. Yeah, I got to get that together. Just so much trying to get going on. Trying to get my tire inventory onto the website so I can, get everything marked and labeled and on the website. The problem I have is I started to do this stuff and I didn't really keep good records as to what I've actually put online and what I haven't. So now I have to go back through it all and sort out my done pile against my not done pile. That's another one of the headaches. Oh, wait a minute. I see something here. Oh, no. Darn. I had an email. Oh, Mike says he just built the wall. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, how big do we want to make this thing? I have one that I had a showcase at the store, and it was just a little square one, glass one, tall one. And I sold that. I actually sold that to my customers that I'm going to play Warhammer with tonight. But I made this thing. It's 1/4 inch, half inch styrofoam walls with a floor. So I don't know if you want to duplicate that, just so we got the same dimensions, or forget about it, or go on with life. Yeah, fun stuff. Anyway, getting back to the Packard build. This one has chrome wheels, chrome spoke wheels. And I have seen Packards online where they are actually painted. I'm not too sure if I like the painted or the chrome. So I don't know. I might do painted because on all of these kits, of course, everybody wants to use the chrome, right? So I might go that way. You got to remember you need to line these up. I thought these ones had a little button on them that automatically aligned them. I don't see one. So when you put your wire spokes together, you got to make sure you've got them lined up correctly. Remember the back turns with that. Same with the AMT ones. Otherwise they don't look right. Of course, because they're off center. I can hear the phone ringing downstairs. I can hear my kids picking it up. Phew, that was a close call. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah, and I made that YouTube video of the 3 garages. So the Tip Top Shop, the Get On Up, and Weekend Wrenching. And at the end of those, I have these little garage pictures. And I got those all off of, what was it called? Clip Art or something. I just did a search for garages, and those came up. They give you like a little 3D layout. Oh, isometric drawings. They're isometric drawings of these garage things. They give you a little 3D layout. Sort of showed you how they arrange some of this stuff and whatever. So it gives you a good idea with using some of this garage stuff. And that was what I showed on the Wednesday live stream. It's all these little garage pieces. like the toolbox. So that's in my previous live stream. So if you guys want to go see that at the end of this video, I would say I'd leave a link for it, but I got to do that when this thing becomes an actual video. So that should be in about 3 days. So just go look for that one. It's a gooder. All three of them are gooders. But yeah. So the idea is like all of us have these garage bits and pieces lying around, little figures from other sets and all the rest. So how hard is it really in our day and age to just get some styrofoam, a hot glue gun, and make a little garage diorama? It doesn't have to be like 65,000 cars at like a Ford or Chevy dealership or whatever. I mean, just something even like this that would just be a little bit outside of the edges of the Packard here, and have a mechanic on it with like a tool chest in the background or something like that. I don't know. It's all subject. So Mike and I are thinking about doing a collaboration video. So a collaboration video would be we would both start off. Maybe like the first video would be just making the box for the garage to go into, right? And then the second one would be maybe building up those little accessories or something. Then the third video would be like painting the floors in the garage box, or or carving in the brick in the back wall, whatever we want to do there. So he would make his video, and I would make the same kind of video. And then at the end of the video, you know how there's the little end screens that pop up? Well, his would say, or he would say something like, check out Trevor's build here, and then the card pops in. And then on mine, I would say, go check out Mike's model garage. He's doing the same thing. It's up here. And then his video would pop up, so, and then my subscribers would see that Mike's video, and Mike's subscribers would see my video. So it sort of trades views around. It's a lot of YouTubers do that. I was actually, Mike, I was looking at some of the collaboration videos, because YouTube has this thing where it's like, if you go on YouTube and you type in how to make a collaboration video, it kind of shows. But I think what they're doing in those videos is different from what we would be doing, because the guy was saying, okay, so you want to do a collaboration video. So you set it up as sort of a Zoom meeting with your camera here. And then, I'm talking here, right? And you see how there's like all the door and stuff. So all of a sudden Mike would slid in here and then pop up over here. And then I'd be saying, oh, Mike, how do you like building the 30 Packard, or whatever thing. And then you can see him saying, oh, I like it. And you can see me saying, blah, 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 right? So Frizzo was saying he's got all three of those, like the 3 garage sets, Frizzo. Is that what you're saying? Anyway, so that's one way of doing the collaboration. The other way to do it is I go over to Mike's house in Texas, and he comes up to mine in Alberta here, and then we both sit in a chair side by side. But I don't think that's feasibly going to happen. And then they were saying another way to do it is, and I don't know how this would work either, because I don't have the software to do this. Basically, Mike will film something, and I will say, this week on the Monster Hobbies Model Car Garage, we're going to go look at how Mike built this thing. And then my footage cuts out and Mike's footage cuts in. But in the meantime, I'm editing this video. So then that means Mike films whatever he films in Texas and sends me the files here. And that's through some kind of DigiLink share the files app, something like that I don't have either. So I don't know. And then there was a third way that, again, wasn't feasible. So I think sort of just doing that, where I'm saying, check out how Mike built his up here, works. Or there's yet another way that would be like, I'm doing the first lesson, Mike does the second lesson. I do the third lesson, Mike does the fourth lesson. So then I'd say like, okay, so for this one, well then, I don't know, because again, I don't know if this would work out either. So at any rate, it would be like, okay, so this week I'm going to show you how to build the walls and everything and glue the floor together for your garage, right? And then check out at the end of the video, check out Mike's video here where he's showing you how to build the hoist thing. And then at the end of Mike's video of building the hoist thing, he goes, now check out how Trevor's carrying on with his thing over here, right? So that means that our audiences are trading almost directly. So if you want to, like I'm doing videos 1, 3, and 5, and he's doing 2, 4, and 6. So if you want to know what's going on for 2, then that's Mike doing 2, and then he's trading you back to me for 3, and I'm trading you off for 4. And so there's sort of that way to do it, but I really don't know what's the best way. Again, one of these things, it's like a really good idea, and then when you start dissecting it, it's like, how do we pull this off? Will I have the lifespan to put it all together? Anyway, so got to figure out what the plan is before we do this collaboration thing. But then I'm itching to build it, right? So I don't know. Maybe it'd be better just to build it and say, here's Mike's take of at the end of each video. Like, here's how he built the Tip Top Shop stuff. Here's how I built it. Here's how he built it. Maybe you want to use maybe Mike's weathering his stuff and I'm just building it nice and clean, like a brand new shop, but his is the weathered dirty shop, or mine is the dirty shop and his is, or there's sort of a combination where they're both sort of dirty and sort of clean. But he's painting his toolbox orange. I'm painting mine red. Go check out his orange one. And I don't know. I'm not an expert at this. I need to be a professional YouTuber. And maybe I already go through all those ropes, right? Anyway. Yeah. Well, it just takes a bit of thinking, typing, and then sending off an email, really. And then Mike agreeing on that, or not agreeing, or putting his own input in, or coming up with another idea and sending it back. And yeah, that is a neat little bench. I've seen another one that I want to try. It's who makes it now? One of those World War II military model building companies. They have one that's it's supposed to be like a German factory or something, and they've got all these different benches and stuff, and they're all the heavy steel bench cabinets with the big roll around sides with the big thick metal drawers, and on top of that they've got like the lathe and a drill press and all that kind of thing. Those ones are cool for inspiration, if you can find those. Mike says he's got an idea for a gas station with a parking lot full of cars. Might be something more simple to start with because I don't have all the shop kits. Yeah. Or we can also get sheet styrene and build just straight out of that. Again, watching A4's garage, most of the stuff that he's doing is like he'll get a photograph of something and look at what the shapes of that item are, and then he'll cut the shapes out and then glue them into the sequence they need to be glued, and then maybe sand the shapes to smooth them out. So like if there's a water pump, right, how the back of it is sort of waved in to fit on the block, and then the front of it has an offset pulley over here or something like that. So he'll build the woo part at the back, and then build the offset and whatever, and then like cut them all out, cut out the shapes, and then glue them all on top of each other, and then form them with a file or something. And then it looks like the proper water pump piece, something like that. I don't know. But some of that C-channel and I-beam stuff could be used as legs for the bench, and opening drawers you could slide in on the I-beams, or L-channel. There's tons of ways to do this. Anyway, what do we got? 1:30, 1:40, an hour and 40 minutes on this live stream so far. Yeah. I keep looking at these parts trees. Talk about inspiration. Inspiration winding down. Okay, let's clip off our exhaust pipe. And then this is flat, needs the other half of the muffler, which is on the parts tree with the spare tire covers, which is right there. So because this is the one with all the holes in it, I'm just going to sand it a little on the sanding pad. Cross sanding technique. So you want to go at a 45-degree angle this way, reverse it for a 45-degree angle this way. If I can. I'll hold this thing. Then you can also go back and forth and up and down. And what that does is it eliminates any warps and dips, because the cross cutting actually, if you sand one direction, you make a valley, like a valley. But if you sand in the other direction, you chop off all the peaks. So you end up with flat seam work. That's what we did with auto body collision repair with the spot putty, or the Bondo, whatever you want to call it. So you put on Bondo and you go at this angle, and you can see it all cutting down to the height of the metal. And then you go at the opposite angle, and you can see it cuts off the peaks and valleys and stuff at this angle. And once it's all together, you have a perfectly flat, smooth panel that you can feel with your hand. Of course, car panel is 1-to-1 scale. This is smaller, but the principle still applies. It's just a little more, little smaller, you know. And then, of course, the other thing is once you do all your cross sanding and stuff, and you apply spot putty, and then how did it go? You just sort of lightly spray paint over the top to get a bunch of little dots going on, and then you sand out the spot putty, and you can see where it's high and low from the dots. Something like that. Hey, last time I did body work was in the 90s, so. And it didn't involve that bench back there either. Ah, boy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you want, Mike, I can give you the dimensions for that styrofoam box that I made up. You could duplicate it, or if you want to do something a little bit different, then go for it. I think the main point is just trading off the check out his video up here thing. So it's almost like a group build, but not really. Because a group build, well, first off, there's more than one person doing it. See, when we do the group build, the way I'm thinking of connecting it together is by using hashtags. And I'll explain how to put hashtags into your group build videos. So basically what happens with the hashtag is, you know when you see a YouTube video and there's like the screen here, right? And then down below it has the title of the video you're watching. And then just below that, there's these blue letters with the hashtag on them, or words or something. So if you click on those, it takes you to a YouTube page where only videos with that same hashtag appear. So if we do the model car group build and everybody does a YouTube video or sends me pictures or something, I can link that up with a hashtag. So anyone that wants to watch our thing that stumbles across the group build from somewhere else, say they're watching Super Bowl and one of these group build videos pops up for whatever reason, then they can click on the hashtags and see everybody else's stuff. Whereas with the collaboration video, it's just basically me and somebody else. A buddy build, yeah. That's a good way to describe it. Yeah, so basically that's one way to do it. And then somebody, I know what it was. I was saying about Mike was the only person that said that I should, instead of specifying on one model car, like building the 1953 Hudson, for example, that I should be looking at leaving it open like I have for custom cars, because anything can be a custom car. And it's not limiting people to just one thing to build, which is more like running a model car contest, really, without the contest prize stuff. So, should be interesting. Okay, there's a little button on top of this. Is that actually a button, or is that a piece of where it was attached to the parts tree? I'll just pretend it's a button for now, and then I will look. I've got a Packard story. This happened to my dad. This Packard story goes over many time periods. So, okay, just a minute. I got to see if I got this right, though, first. Sorry to keep you in suspense here. Oh, there goes my knife on the floor. Thankfully, backhand first. Okay, where is that? Exhaust manifold. Just shows it going in there. Doesn't even show anything about it hooking up. Okay, what is the exhaust manifold looking like? It's that piece there. When in doubt, look at the actual part. So there's a little hole there, and there's a little button on the end of this, so don't sand off the button. Boy, that button doesn't even fit in there. Anyway, ooh, and I gotta glue my muffler on. Okay, so this Packard story happened to my dad. So what happened is, back in the 50s, maybe late 40s, when my dad was a young guy, just about to get his first car. So they go to my dad is riding his, I don't know if it was his motorbike or his bicycle, and he spots this Packard sitting at a car dealership. And the Packard that he has, it's like this 1930s, maybe a 32 or a 34, somewhere in there. Maybe a little bit later. Can't quite remember. But that's got to be mid-30s. So anyway, this is about a 1935 Packard, let's say. Just that gets it right in the middle of everything. So he sees this 35 Packard, and of course he wants to buy it. But my dad wanted a second opinion from my grandpa before he committed to this thing. So he goes out there, he looks over the Packard, and the Packard looks okay, but my dad says, my grandpa goes out with him, and my grandpa's looking at this thing, and he's like, oh, this Packard's really weird. Like, look at the tires. They're really tall and skinny. They're taller and skinnier than the regular standard Packard tires. They open up the door to get in the passenger compartment, and it's like, oh, look, the upholstery is wet. There must be a leak in this thing. This, that, and the other. So my dad passes on this Packard. So what happens is about 2 weeks later, his friend drives up in this Packard. And my dad comes over and he says, I guess this was at school or something. So my dad comes over and says, "Oh, you bought that Packard. What about, did you fix the leak in the roof or something?" Because when my dad and I were looking at it, it was all wet and the upholstery was wet and everything. The guy says, "Oh, no, somebody just had the window down about half a crack and it rained the night before and it shot the water through the cracks in the window, like from it being rolled down. All you need to do is just roll it back up. It's fine." And he says, "Well, what about the tires? You can't get wheels like that." He says, "Oh yeah, they're all over the place. No problem. Just go to this shop and that shop. It's easy, and they're cheap because nobody wants those tall tires anymore. They want the other kind." So, uh, oh, and then his friend says, "Hey, did you open up the glove box?" My dad says, "No, we never opened up the glove box. What was the point of doing that?" The guy says, "Oh, you got to see this." So he takes him into the car, opens up the glove box, and here's this plaque. And engraved on the plaque is, "This car was given to Clark Gable on completion of Gone with the Wind." My dad's like, could have had this car. So anyway, I guess school ends and my friend or my dad's friend moves on. Everybody moves on from high school and whatever else, right? So now all of a sudden it's the mid 1970s or early 80s or something. My dad's working for the telephone company and his friend comes in and he's like, "Hey, did you see this car magazine?" And my dad's like, "No, I didn't see this car magazine." So uh, my dad's other friend from work gives him this magazine. He says, "Check out this Packard inside here." He opens up the thing and it's the Packard that my dad would have bought in the 50s. And he said, and there's this big write up: "Found in Vancouver, rare Packard given to Clark Gable at the end of the completion of Gone with the Wind, $1.5 million in 1980 money." My dad's like, "Ah!" My grandpa mucked him out of that deal. I guess it wasn't meant to be. So, anyway, my dad ended up with a 48 Packard, which he ended up selling to a guy uh, that took it away. And that was supposed to be my Packard. Anyway, and again, my dad, "Where are you going to get this? Where are you going to get that?" And I'm part of the Packard International Club. Well, for a while anyway, getting the newsletter. And there's, what was the name of that store? There's a car parts store. It starts with a K. Oh, I'm thinking of Kino Lorber, but that's where you get the videos from. But anyway, he deals with Packard parts and Studebaker parts and some of the rare orphan cars, and you can just go and buy these things. It's not a problem. But my dad, "Oh yeah," and that's one thing I can't figure out. My dad would always say, if I wanted to do something, my dad would start up with this: "Oh, you can't do that, and you can't do this. Nobody does that. Blah blah blah." And yet, looking back at his life, all the stuff he was telling me that I couldn't do, he did and was successful in. Why would you tell your kid that you can't do anything when you yourself are doing it? Like, he was an acrobat when he was in high school. He was a swim instructor at the YMCA and taught these lumberjacks. He was teaching Canadian lumberjacks how to swim because the lumberjacks, they go out on the logs and they walk on the logs. And if there's I don't know, a spot, let's say, the logs can open up and be loose. And if the lumberjack steps on the log, he can go underneath the log. It's almost like being on ice. He can fall between the logs and the logs can roll back on top. And the lumberjack can't get out because these floating logs are up above his head. So my dad was saying that a lot of the lumberjacks, when he was teaching them how to swim, they figured that if they went into water, they were automatically dead. So my dad was teaching them how to swim and they had the mindset that as soon as they got into water, they would be automatically dead, right? So he was saying how great it was when they realized that, hey, when they realized they could float in water and they weren't going to automatically die when they got into the lake or whatever. That they could basically, if the logs came back over top, they could swim out and up somewhere else where there were no logs. That's what my dad was teaching these people back in the 50s. So, he got awards for acrobatics. He was teaching these guys how to survive from the logs going over top. He became a draftsman, worked for the telephone company, had the house, the wife, and the kids all on his income, paying for it all. He was offered shares from the telephone company that he got into, like all this stuff. And yet, in the meantime, he was telling me I couldn't do any of this. You can't do that because of this. You can't do the other thing because of that. You can't do whatever. So how did he do it all? And yet I couldn't. I don't know what was with his mind on that. That's a really weird thing that I've been thinking about in the last few days. I was dad always, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do whatever, you can't do the other thing, you can't do, obviously people did. Or we wouldn't have a telephone, we wouldn't have an internet. These cars would never have been developed. Model cars would never have been developed if everybody just sat there and said, you can't do this, you can't do that. And people are successful doing these things. And another thing I thought of, getting back to the store, if you look at, everybody thinks that, once you get a business online, this big miracle happens and like everybody just automatically finds you. And I was thinking about this. I don't know, JC, maybe he was afraid to see me fail, so just turn it off at the source. But yet by doing that, how do I know I haven't just completely failed? Because I don't have this lifestyle that my dad had. I don't have one job fits all paychecks and budgets with savings. The golden handshake at the end. My dad took the early retirement at 55, like with the golden handshake and the pension from the telephone company and the old age pension and all this other, like he did all this stuff. And yet here I'm a small business and I got nowhere near that. No one's going to golden handshake me at the end of all this time. But anyway, what I'm thinking is, getting back to the store thing, the website is no different from having a building. I don't know. JC's thing would be a reflection on him, but I don't know. I don't see that because my dad didn't have his big social circle of friends poo-pooing everything that happened or whatever, like they'll put crust snobbery. Oh, he's not eating Grey Poupon. Oh, the shame and humiliation. None of that crap. I don't know. I just had this attitude. I think maybe because he didn't want to do something. And if I brought it up, it was like, oh, you can't do this because I don't want to do the secret message. I don't want to do that. Like if I said, hey, Dad, I think if I get enough wood together, we could, because he was also, he also did furniture and built furniture as a hobby. So I'd say something like, hey, Dad, if we got because I always wanted to build one of these in real life, a 30s car. So I'd say something like, hey, Dad, if we got together and we could make the wooden body, and with my sheet metal experience, I could hammer like they did in the 20s. You build a wooden frame and you hammer the metal onto the wooden frame and then screw it in, and, like the British do, right? Oh, you can't do that. No, so liability is something else. And yet you read card magazines and that's exactly what everyone's doing. Chopping and channeling 32 Fords left, right, and center and all this, so I think my dad just didn't want to do a 32 Ford, didn't want to do something else, or, so then all of a sudden you can't do it, see how it all goes down the slope. Anyway, I'm just trying to say this other thing. So your web address is like being out in the real world with a brick and mortar store. Not everybody's going to know you got a brick and mortar store or a website unless you advertise. And even then, if you advertise, you're only getting into a certain circle. Now, with the internet, of course, I'm getting more of a world view because, like Mike is down in Texas and I've got Peter in England, and so I got more of a world thing than if I did a newspaper ad, which would just get you circulation in that newspaper, which might get you some people out of town or maybe a bigger spot in Calgary, but not like right to the limits. Like my newspaper ad here is not going to be seen in London or England where Peter is. He'll never see this newspaper ad if I run it in the High River Times, for example. But the concept is still the same. Somehow Peter found my YouTube channel. Somehow Mike found it. Somehow Frizzo found it. Maybe through word of mouth. Maybe because what's it? Because I left a comment on somebody's YouTube channel, and then I forget the guy's name now. He's got the the black and white Camaro, and then he's got the red lettering on the top. And every week, whenever a subscriber joins, he's like, "Hey, big shout out to so and so, right? Big shout out to Mike's Garage. Big shout out to JC Kearns. Big shout out to what that guy, right?" So some of you might have seen me from that guy. Some of you might have seen me because I did something on Facebook. It's all how you find each other, right? So I've got a bigger circle than when I started on the web with everybody here. But then that only goes so far. Like I don't have 10 million people watching this video right now. According to this up here, I've got 6, and a little earlier on it was about 10. So we got 10 people that are watching this. YouTube link your videos to other model channels. That's how JC found me. Yes, YouTube will get me out there that way too. But what I'm saying, like for the website and that, people have to search. Like, let's say I have this on the website. People have to search for the 30 Packard. They'll type that in a Google search. Google will come up with everybody and have me on the bottom page. Yet somehow, somewhere, somebody finds me, maybe indirectly, and buys a Packard. Or maybe I made a YouTube video on it. Or maybe, I don't know. So it's not this, once it's on the web, it's there and everyone will find you. It's the same as having the regular store outside there somewhere beyond this bright window in the real world. Is that, it's your advertisements go so far, word of mouth goes so far. And if I've got my building, if I go into Texas to visit Mike and I'm driving around and I don't have GPS or any of this stuff, let's say, and I'm going from the hotel to Mike's place, driving in a rented car, and then one day they block traffic. Let's say there's no hobby shop between the airport and the hotel and whatever, right? Yeah, 1964. She found me with Star Trek, looking for something else. So anyway, there's no hobby shop on this road. But then one day they do a little bit of construction, and there's a detour. It goes up here, right, and then comes back. Well, if there's a hobby shop up here, then I find that. JC, the system's always being updated, and I think it gets worse and worse each time. It's like the little hands that are gripping onto your thing. They lose a finger each time they upgrade this thing. No, but anyway, so really to get the hobby shop going bigger online is to possibly go offline and get the old school advertisements and stuff to try to drag the eyeball that's not hooked onto Facebook and all the rest, or that does have YouTube and everything, but it's not looking for me. So again, look at Walmart. Walmart has a flyer. They have a truck with Walmart written on the side. They, I don't know if they do functions. You can buy Walmart merchant clothing and stuff like this. They're in every flyer in your newspaper. They're on all the radio channels. They've got a YouTube channel. They got a Facebook. I mean, it's not hard to miss Walmart. It's almost smacking you in the face every time you go to. I mean, even people are talking about Walmart. You got two crowds: one that will shop there and one that absolutely won't. And then in the middle, where they might buy a few items at Walmart and not. So for me, I need to go from being this little monster hobbies on this little website with a bunch of people here, to being at that Walmart status with a ton of nobody can get away from monster hobbies. I don't know. And that can even be in magazines and everything. JC saying kids cheating their way through college, then getting a good job working on websites. Sabotage. Or it's they perfect out the website or whatever they're doing, and then they don't have any work because they're finished doing the website. So then they make themselves their own make work program. So they go, I think this would look better if this button and this button were reversed. And then when the guy clicks on this button, it takes him over to the opposite page of what it used to and something else, just to make the website better. So then these guys make their own job by goofing up your website or goofing up the art program or goofing up the video editor or goofing up something because they want to move buttons around so that somebody will go, oh, here's another $30 for the day, or here's another $100 for the day, or whatever they're getting paid, right? So that's what they do. They're constantly reworking these things to make them better and better and better. But let's face it, this stuff worked great on the old 1995 computers. So, but oh no, they have to be better somehow. How? I don't know. Get more features, more options like YouTube. And now they just redid some of the analytic things, and yeah, they work a bit better, but did we really need them before? I like the classic one where they used to have a map of the world, so you'd see all the countries, and then um, when people watched your videos, it would show like Canada would be dark blue, and then USA would be kind of medium blue. So that meant no, usually US is dark blue. Canada is more medium blue. Maybe in Romania or something, it's almost white, light blue. And that just means that more people are watching in the USA, and you can see the country is darker and deeper. That means you're getting more views. Then in Canada, which you're getting, it's a little bit lighter. And then in Romania or something, there's like one or two people watching, so it's really light blue. But then maybe down in India, it's dark blue for whatever reason, something like that. I missed that. I liked that. But they had to get rid of it, and they had to. Now you just got this wavy bar that's going in there and means nothing. Well, it means something, but it doesn't have that appeal. Oh, and then we're watching a bunch of movies like Mission Impossible because we have 2 and 3. And then for my wife's birthday, I bought number 1 because we were missing it. So you remember when the internet was like a far more cool kind of concept art world? Like you'd see the guys in the movie and they'd be like, okay, I'm just going to open up this page, right? And then I'll put on my glasses. And then all of a sudden they're in the computer and they're like, and all like you got Facebook and it's like a big circle with the F in it. And then you got like YouTube and they're inside there and they're going, let's watch YouTube. Oh, and they push on the icon. And then all of a sudden like, the walls go, ew, and then they're like inside the movie, walking around with the movie or something like that, whatever it is, right? Where is that? Why do we never get that? Why do we have this same clunky, simple system that we always have, right? Anyway, OJC got stopped uploading videos. Too much nonsense. Oh, that's another thing I'm thinking of. I watch all these people that tell you how to grow on YouTube, and they'll say, "Oh, you need these kind of keywords, but not those kind of keywords. These kind of make your videos like this, and then go watch. What's the most popular trending topic right now? Make a video on that, and all this other stuff, right?" I just make the same videos almost every single week, and yeah, okay, I'm not Mr. Beast or something, not yet anyway. But look at all the people that are commenting and following and all this stuff. It's like, I don't think my videos are so crummy or whatever that no one's going to watch them. And I've got to do all these zippity doodah stuff that appeal to a teenage mindset. Like all of a sudden I got TikTok videos and I'm going, build the Packard, whatever. And my eyes are going, blah, 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 because I got that funky app that does this stuff, and there's like rap music pumping through the sides or whatever, just so a 14-year-old kid would get excited to watch this video that means nothing, like the TikTok videos. It's not me, Interesting. JC says his buddy made a lot of money per year and said his bosses had no idea what he did. Yeah, probably. I mean, who can understand half of this stuff? And you got to take an invested interest in it. So if I'm making YouTube videos, I've got to study everything that I'm doing on YouTube, to hopefully make that successful or whatever. But yet, if I tell my in-laws I'm making YouTube videos, well, they don't have the invested interest in YouTube, so they just go, "Oh, that's nice. Did you make a ton of money off it? Well, then you're wasting your time." Not having the concept that, okay, maybe now it seems like a waste of time, but eventually I might get enough people watching the videos to make it not worth a waste of time. This channel's so close to being monetized right now, and I do have another channel that's monetized, but I'm not devoting a lot of time into the other monetized channel because I want to be here in the garage. JC says he finally got fired when they hired a real tech to check his work. Oh, I knew a guy in the 90s that worked for a company that I worked for. And the boss was always complaining that his computer was slow and wasn't working right. So this guy was the tech to fix a computer. And what the tech wasn't telling him is that he was using the company computer to download adult viewing content, let's call it that, behind inside, because this is the 90s, right? About 98. So a lot of people didn't quite understand, and I guess people today still don't understand how much stuff is going on inside their computer, right? Because the earlier computers, you turn them on, you put the program in. I was charged with theft. Woo. So you put the program in, the program would be like, okay, this is your typing program. So then you would type all your documents and you'd save them and whatever and print them off and send them to the tax man, whatever the heck your documents were. And then when computers started to get bigger, they could say, oh, we can do this as well as that, as well as this, as well as the other thing in the hard drive, or not the hard drive, but in the operating system, right? So this guy was in behind the operating, as the computer's operating, it's downloading all this adult content from unscrupulous sites into this hard drive that the guy set up inside the computer. So because it was downloading so much of this adult content into this hard drive, it was slowing up the internet for when the boss had to do his income tax reports in the computer. So the computer was constantly crashing. So he'd phone up, I don't want to name names, but I do. He'd phone up, I don't know, what's a generic name? Let's just say Charlie. So Charlie is actually working in the company doing his job. But then the boss would call over and he'd be like, hey, Charlie, the computer's all slow again. Can you come in and fix it? And Charlie knew full well that he was downloading all this adult content. So he would just set up a false face or false front that he was actually fixing the computer. And he'd slow down, like he'd not download some of this content just enough so that the computer would, kind of pick up and act properly. And then when the day was done, he'd reopen those content that he was downloading and let it download more into this hard drive of the company's computers. Well, the boss eventually found out what was going on and fired out of there. I don't know if he faced some criminal charges too, like this guy JC's talking about. But man, again, sneaky, dirty-minded tech doing this. Not that all tech people are dirty, but this guy was. Wow. Yeah, I still can't believe that. Anyway, well, we got 2:15, and I don't think my guy's back. I think he just fixed my website the one time, and when I went back to check it, it popped again. So I guess Monster Hobbies is down till Monday or something. Oh, well, if you need me, I'll be panhandling on the corner. Okay, there's our differential. So just scrape these seam lines down. I don't know. There, see now everything is coming together in the center here as being one complete item. Still a little soft right there. So that's a concept anyway. Get rid of all your seam lines, paint this thing up. And I think maybe that will end it for the day, considering that it is 2 hours and 15 minutes of this live stream. Sorry if I was a bit of a downer there, but I don't know. Just got to figure something out here. Might mean I need to go to McDonald's. I don't know. Can become a manager at McDonald's there. Flip burgers. Anyway, I will see you all next time. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for writing in the sides. Once again, my name is Trevor Slescu, owner of Monster Hobbies at www.monster-hobbies.ca, which is temporarily on the fritz. Phone number is 403-652-5019. You can phone anytime. Operators are standing by. Anytime respectably. I do go to sleep, you know. Okay. Our website is priced in Canadian dollars. We offer free shipping on all Canadian orders over $75. We accept PayPal and credit cards on our secure payment system. We also ship all around the world. Anywhere Canada Post goes, we go. Later. So just type in YouTube to save 10% off on your next purchases on our website. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter off on the side. And until next time, everyone, happy model building.